Hello, I am Kathleen Antonia Tarr, the founder of the annual Getting Played Symposium on Equity in the Entertainment Industry and Awards, and last year's Repro Film Festival keynote. I have caramel skin tones, curly light brown hair of moderate length, and I'm wearing black rimmed glasses and a multicolored v-neck blouse with a translucent large chain necklace and headset. I am thrilled to be back again for this year's Repro Film Fest. These films are so well done and so important. Whether you're returning or are joining us for the first time this year, we are so grateful that you're with us. And much gratitude also to the Ohlone, the original stewards of the land I'm currently occupying here in the San Francisco Bay Area. Obviously, the pandemic, climate change, and more have influenced the logistics of this film festival and the lives we are living, but also the context of knowledge, intention, and action that make Repro the only film festival in the world directed and dedicated to reproductive justice, inclusive reproductive health care, and bodily autonomy for women, cis, trans, and non-binary alike. When you purchase tickets and donate to Repro, you have become an active participant of change, as all net ticket sales support our three beneficiary organizations: Black Women's Health Imperative, Lilith Fund, and No More Secrets. You can also access our films from anywhere in the United States. Get all the info at reprofilmfest.com. Finally, thank you to all of our sponsors, including Bloomberg Philanthropies, Stober Lafer Foundation, Lori M. Tisch Illumination Fund, and the Shepherd Foundation. So welcome to our call to action roundtable discussion with Repro Shorts filmmakers on the importance of representation of reproductive justice in the media. I am pleased to introduce Maya Albanese, the director, writer, and producer of Freeze; Henrietta Ritz, the director, producer, writer, animator, and editor of Postpartum, which I believe the German is Wochenbett; Susan O'Brien, the director and producer of Resist, the Resistance Revival Chorus. Welcome, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome. Hello. I am so excited to have you here. And so my first question, and part of this is just because I'm a rhetorician, I'm interested in your intention for the film. Like, who did you really want to see this? And what did you want them to do after they saw it, or think about after they saw it? So I'm going to start with you, Susan, because I'm going to tell you just about whether I'm in your target audience or not. I'm going to tell you that my immediate response was to look up the Resistance Revival Chorus and find out if there were any auditions in cities near me. So, but tell me, what was your intention? What did you want to happen with the film?
Exactly that. We want to start a global movement. So I'm glad to hear that that was your initial response to go and find one. You can go to our website and click on the tab that says create your own chapter. So that is to come. You can make your own San Francisco chapter, but really my intention was that I was so struck by the first performance that I saw of the Resistance Revival Chorus and how they were bringing joy to activism, which is something that we don't really see that much of. I think there are a lot of stereotypes when it comes to activism that you see, people on the streets with their fists up, and there also can be joy involved, and there is also rest in resistance and self-love in resistance, and those are equally important parts of making change happen. So my intentions were were really to bring forth those ideas, and to bring a new perspective of what activism can be, which is, I shouldn't say a new perspective, because it is bringing back, movements that have happened in this country, like the civil rights movements, the labor rights movements, women's rights movements within this country that used music as a form of resistance. But it's a good reminder to all of us that we can use song to enact change. So that was really the goal, and to also have it be conversational, because I think with protest music specifically, there is a call and response. It's meant to be conversational. It literally is somebody in the crowd saying, these are my thoughts, and how do you respond back to it? Do you support me? Are you with me? And I think, especially where we are as a country right now, where we are very divided, um, that having a discussion and having a film that brings the idea of protest to the masses in a more conversational way, hopefully will be something that you can give to your family members that might be of opposing ideas. And it can start or continue that conversation with them.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. Next, I want to turn to Maya, who's the director, writer, and producer of Freeze. I loved in this film and again, it's the same question, what did you want to happen and who was your target audience? Who do you intend to see it? As someone who has not given birth and who has not strived to give birth, I was really struck by how much metaphor and symbolism was in your film and what that might mean, right? You have the carton of eggs, the fish in the tank, the color of sand in an hourglass, and it's all of those types of things. Like, I never really considered how the world around somebody who's in that situation might start to symbolize all of that. But what were you intending for audiences to do with that? And
oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, visual motifs and visual metaphors and symbolisms, I feel like, are one of my greatest joys in cinema, and using cinema as a device of storytelling and visual storytelling in general. I'm really into color and, yeah, and metaphors and symbolism. And um, I don't know. I mean, some of it's obviously very intentional to convey the fact that, like, yeah, the entire world is designed around women from the moment we're born and given pink onesies instead of blue onesies, or given a choice to buy a Barbie doll, but nothing about engineering. Like, we're constantly being bombarded with this idea of what being a woman is supposed to be. And I think with Freeze, I wanted, obviously, I have a singular protagonist in it, Joy, who represents a certain type of woman with a certain perspective, and certainly does not intend to represent all women's perspective on what they want out of their life, whether they want to have children or not. But the idea is that to show a woman navigating a world in which there are all these external pressures that are telling her, like, this is what you're supposed to do. And then the fact that there's other things she wants to do, and a lot of it is out of her control. For example, being, dumped by the person she thinks she's going to have kids with. And then when you're in this, on top of that period of your life where it's like a pressure cooker of time running out, which is your 30s, basically, just like how chaotic, confusing, stressful that is. And just, from the color pink was definitely obviously used as in a form. I don't really love the color pink. And I don't know if that's because I don't like the color pink, or if that's because I associate it with something that's been pushed upon me as the way that femininity is supposed to be, that I don't prescribe to. But the idea was to have all the graphics and things in it be pink, but like a dirty, muted, kind of unpleasant pink. And then as the film goes on chronologically, to have both in through the color grade, the lighting, the wardrobe, and every area of color, to have the pink go from being kind of piggy pink to more and more dirty, muted, as if like dirt is being thrown on, until it's almost desaturated to the point that it's gray. So in like the first chronological sequence in the film, which is the first flashback, because the film time jumps a lot, so the actual linear time wise, the first flashback represents the farthest back in time. You'll notice that all the pinks and eggs and things in it are sort of perfect. And then in the final flashback, which is loops in back into the present day, everything's like pretty washed out and sort of sterile and empty and muted. So yeah, that was all intentional. And just a little last bit about kind of understanding the reason behind all of the world that is built around Joy and Freeze is that I love satire, and I grew up loving all kinds of satire. All my film directing heroes are, satire, in the satire vein, but also loved the book Candide by Voltaire.
mm-hmm.
And I thought, if you read Candide, it's really about an optimistic person navigating a world that around them is kind of just, punching them out or taking a piss on them at every turn. And there's never really been like a female Candide. Like, what about what it's like to be a woman today navigating the world and just kind of getting thrown stuff you're getting thrown stuff at you at every corner about like, well, you should be doing this with your womb and you should be doing this. And well, what if, by the way, like the clock's ticking, and it's like, is any of this actually serving women and making great life choices? And so I just thought it'd be nice to have a woman who is named Joy, and she's like, has this great life plan, and it's all working out until it doesn't work out. And then everything goes awry around her, and what that says about the wider world around her and what's wrong with it, and what we need to think about differently versus, so that's kind of what drives the satire. And, that's the kind of story I was trying to tell, is a story similar to Candide.
Wonderful. And then for audiences, do you want them to feel witnessed? Do you want them to, like, what was your goal with the audience?
Ugh, I don't know. I feel like Freeze was a film that I don't know that there was like, oh, this is my goal when I was making it. Like, I want to make people feel this way, and I want them to think this. And I think I really just kind of vomited onto the page everything I was experiencing in my own life, and thought, wow, this is so messed up. It's funny. And I just kind of like, it was like a really honest slice of my life, and the life of almost every 30-something woman around me who was trying to do things like start companies or direct movies, and had an interest in having a family, and was trying to do it all. And I think that, like, things weren't necessarily strategized as much as they were like, this is just a feeling I have, and I want to convey the feeling. I wanted to give men perhaps a window onto what it feels like to be a 30-something woman today, and like all the choices we have to juggle. And so, like, if all that people take away is, wow, that's gave me anxiety. That's what it feels like. And also just kind of like empathy for the 30-something female experience, and how sometimes like more choice being put upon us is not necessarily, it's not that it's a bad thing, but it doesn't necessarily make life easier. And I think we're in like a weird transitional phase right now, right? Where like old norms and the newer norms, people who are in their 30s right now were raised by people with the old norms and are looking to the younger people, but aren't quite ready maybe to prescribe to the youngest people alive today's vision of the future. And we're kind of caught between two worlds, and it's stressful.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I loved it. Thank you so much. And I want to turn to Henrietta. Ich liebe deinen Film. I wanted to tell you, I mean, I loved it. And again, it's the same question about, who's your target audience, who you're trying to reach, and what you want them to do. I'll tell you for myself whether I'm in that target or not. I immediately made sure I looked up Wochenbett to see how that translated, because it is postpartum, and so certainly Google Translate may not be quite on board. But what I found was puerperium, which means the period of about 6 weeks after childbirth, during which the mother's reproductive organs return to their original non-pregnant condition. But when I was looking a little bit further into the word in the German, it seems to mean more like childbed or confinement or something as well. But I'm really curious, like, what did you intend with that, and who did you want to reach?
First of all, thanks for the introduction, Kathleen, and I really liked what you said about the German version of postpartum Wochenbett, and that you looked it up, because I was also having a hard time finding an English name for the film, because postpartum is not exactly the same thing as Wochenbett. And Wochenbett, like if you translate it by the name, it would be like week bed, and it describe in Germany it describes as you said, the very first 6 weeks after giving birth, and this time is like like for me, like it was very intense this time. The movie is about my first child after I was giving birth to my daughter, and I was like in the Wochenbett. I was super overwhelmed, and I was like, shock is a hard word, but I was quite shocked how I felt, and how miserable I felt, and how I was not prepared for it. And I had a big desire to make a film that is a bit more honest about the Wochenbett than you see, for example, on social media, because like it makes me very angry if you look up the hashtag Wochenbett on Instagram, for example. You see like sometimes you see like women standing in flowers with a two-day-old baby, and that's so far away from reality.
Mhm. Mhm.
That I wanted to be a bit more honest, and the audience, for me the audience would be every mom and dad, and I want to tell them you're not alone. There are lots of people that experience the same, and like usually I use illustration as my media to tell
Mhm.
stories. But this story was so complex that I decided to make a film. Sorry, it's like my very first real film, and like I don't really have film experience, so
Mm.
I'm like super proud that Wochenbett is like quite successful in the whole film festival season. Cause like actually I wanted to just do the film and upload it to YouTube or whatever. But
Mhm.
a friend of mine, he said, "Yeah, you should submit it to film festivals." Like I had like no experience, and it's a very great experience well, at least my movie is traveling around right now, right?
Mhm.
And the crazy thing was like after I finished my film, I gave birth to my second child, and then I was again in the Wochenbett, and my movie Wochenbett was going on, and that was also like very intense and crazy that time. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so good. It's amazing. Your sort of first attempt and doing such a great job. And of course, you were a director, producer, writer, animator, and
Yeah.
editor. I mean, yeah, you put it all into making sure this film was made. So I'm going to
Yeah.
ask and transition into all of you with the question of, obviously, it was really, you were driven to make sure that this film got put out there. Let's talk a little bit about the importance of that, the importance of the messaging that can be seen during repro, but maybe is not seen in mainstream media or other types of places. But what is the importance of all of that for you? Henriette, since we're already talking to you, I'll go back to you on that.
Well, like uh, for me, the most important thing, like if you break it down, is the honesty. Like why is it so hard to talk about that stuff that is so natural? Like everybody is like, of course, every Wochenbett is different, but in the end, we all experience all this craziness, and why are we not talking about it so clear? Like here in Germany, like most of the pregnant people go to a birth preparing course,
Mm.
and you think you're prepared, but in the end it's about the birth, but nobody really talks about the time afterwards, and why is that? And it's, I mean, uh, getting a child is not a new thing. Like why is it so much taboo? Like it's most normal, and that your hormones are crazy afterwards, and you can be you can feel so down and depressed, and it it should be like more normal to talk about it. I think that's the most important thing
Thank
for
you.
me.
Susan, how about you for your film and thinking and even of other films? And of course, all of you feel free to ask each other questions too. But for you, what is the importance of making sure this gets out and maybe even getting to broader audiences?
Well, this film has been 3 years in the making. So we've seen the rise of many different movements throughout the past 3 years. And it's been inspiring to see the Resistance Revival Chorus meet each of the moments that were happening and supporting each of the movements that were happening during this time. You know, Black Lives Matter was a movement that started in 2013, but obviously we saw a rise in the movement last year. And even in the midst of a global pandemic, the Resistance Revival Chorus came and, it joined in the movement, and talking about reproductive justice. The chorus also was a part of the Stop the Bans movement that took place and is still taking place. So I think it's important for our film because it is showing how people can join in the fight for justice. It shows, like I said before, a different method of joining the different movements that are taking place. And it also was showing that things are still unraveling. There is still so much work to be done. Looking forward in the future, we're about to see, this Supreme Court potentially, overturn Roe v. Wade. And there is still a lot to move forward to and a lot to defend when it comes to the justice in this country and defending the rights of every person. So, I think our film is really important in showing a movement that is defending that and how you can join in.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Maya, to you, for Freeze and films like it, where is the importance in making sure they get out in the media and get publics to see them?
Well, lots of reasons. I mean, first I'd echo what Henriette said about things that are taboo. And we do still live in a patriarchy. And specifically, I mean, I can speak mostly to what it's like to be American living in America, but we're just so behind even Europe and Scandinavia in both parity of gender and race. And I don't understand why there aren't more stories. I mean, one of the reasons I think Freeze got funded and got the cast it did was when people read the script, they said, well, nobody's making scripts about this. Nobody's making comedies about this at that time. And to me, I'm just like, well, that's sad. Why is nobody why are these female driven protagonist stories and why haven't they been told before? Like you said, none of this is a new thing. And I think it's important that as many stories by women and people of color get out there right now as possible, because we've just, for the last 100 years, seen none of it, almost none of it. So that's sort of like an overarching statement about why make Freeze, why make any of these films. But then in general too, living in a patriarchy and in a country in which the medical system is for profit, that creates a kind of commoditization of health in general, but also like when it comes to reproductive health, it's just so scary because if you think about it, like I get targeted egg freezing ads on my phone every week and they're asking me to spend my life savings on a 3% chance that a frozen egg 5 to 10 years from now is going to become a healthy baby. And there's just not a lot of research about, the effects of these things, and women are like signing up voluntarily to do all this. And I just thought, there's a darkness in this too. There's like something wrong about these clinics, and they've always, I mean, I've been to them, and I don't want to generalize all of them, but there's plenty of male doctors running these clinics and male doctors, and that's fine. I mean, there's tons of great doctors out there, but there's something inherently creepy and weird about the feeling of like being told kind of, what to do with your body by a system that's run by men and a system that profits off of your body. And all of those things create what I would call feels a little bit like you're in a horror film sometimes, or dystopia. And that's why Freeze is, so messed up. It's funny and also has horror leaning elements, but it's not a true horror, because I think the most accurate reflection of the reality I experience is like a mix of all of them. It's like sad and it's funny and it's scary. And, so yeah, I just wanted to like put out a story that what it feels like to be a woman. I just think we need more stories like that out there.
So speaking of more stories, so Maya, what's up next for you as far as filmmaking or just advocacy for reproductive justice?
Well, gosh, I mean, advocacy for reproductive justice is a huge thing for me in general, beyond even my filmmaking. I can't even get started on that. But with my filmmaker hat on, I mean, there is a show, both a show and feature version of Freeze, which I'm shopping around now to try and, or movies that are derivative of the short Freeze that I'm hoping, one or the other will get made. And then another film I've written, which is even darker and more sort of dystopian, horror leaning and very surreal, also about the female experience, not specifically about reproductive rights, but about more about childhood trauma. And that is a feature film that I'm also trying to get made. So yeah, hopefully I'll make a feature length next, and always a female story. So
Wonderful. Thank you. I look forward to seeing it. Henrietta, how about you?
Well, right now I'm still in parental leave with my second baby, and so I'm collecting stuff for postpartum part two. um, but well, I'm like people ask me like if I will make another film because like I don't it's hard for me to call myself a filmmaker, but I definitely want to make another film, and it, for me like I think it will definitely be about being a mom and having kids because that's surrounding myself. And but I think like postpartum is a lot about the baby, and I think if I would make a postpartum part two, it would definitely would be even more about the mom and the body of the mom. And I think with my second baby that's even more the topic for me. And since I'm always doing autobiographical stuff, I think this could be a good topic, but we will see.
Wonderful. You definitely are a filmmaker,
Yes.
and we definitely want to see your next project. Susan, how about you?
Yeah, well, back in the fall, I was part of Tribeca Film Festival, their workshop that they do with women filmmakers. And I participated with one of my really beautiful friends and co-writer of a film project that we're working on together based off of her experiences as a trans woman. And we are currently in development of that and moving forward and just continuing to be in awe of the Resistance Revival Chorus and attempt to be part of them. So I'll be at the audition with you.
Excellent. Maybe we'll be in the same chorus. That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, again, I loved all of your films so very much. And I thank you, Susan, Henrietta, and Maya, for being part of this conversation. And a big thanks to for all of you out there watching to join in with this call to action roundtable discussion and continue playing an active role in the movement for reproductive justice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.